Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Gualtieri, VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester, and I cover technology we call digital decisioning platforms. And today I want to talk to you about what we're seeing in the market for digital decisioning platforms and what capabilities you should look for when making a decision on a digital decisioning platform. The backdrop for this is really the business need. Which is decisions, and enterprises rise and fall based upon the collective efficacy of all of those decisions they make. Now, how are those decisions made? They're certainly made by people, by the leaders of the company who make strategic decisions and operational people every day as well. But increasingly, there's decision logic embedded in applications. It's automated inside those applications, and typically that's expressed as program code. Python, Java, lots of COBOL out there as well. And that's where that decisioning logic often lives. Now, when we have new decision logic, decisioning platforms are the place where new decision logic and upgraded decision logic to AI-powered decision logic should be placed. Now, there's lots of use cases for digital decisioning, deciding carrier assignments to meet customer demand. And these are decisions that have to be automated, that get made right now, that get embedded in applications. Decisions about how to prevent customer churn in the moment. So these might be decisions on how to make a recommendation to a call center person to prevent that customer from churning. Certainly there's decisions made in automation and manufacturing. When should we do this maintenance? There's decisions made about, is this a fraudulent transaction? Is there a cyber attack? Deciding whether or not we should approve a loan. This is a very typical use case for decisioning. Is that decision within the regulatory requirements? Deciding how to apply agrochemicals to protect crops, but not too much, not too little, just right. Recommendation engines, what customers add on. I can go on, and you can start thinking in your business about all the decisions that you're making. And it's virtually across every industry. So all of these decisions can't be static. They can't be expressed in static decision logic. They have to change. They have to change with the environment. They have to change with to become more intelligent. And what we find companies doing is using AI-powered digital decisioning. So there's numerous use cases for digital decision technology to automate these decisions. Now, it sort of begs the question, what are we actually talking about? And how can a decision be made that's the best decision for an enterprise? Well, it's not all about AI, because humans, we have a capability to analyze data in a very different way and to draw inferences and conclusions in our creativity. So decision logic definitely comes from the people, the workers, the employees, the leaders of the company. But computers likewise are amazing in their ability to analyze huge amounts of data. And this is what AI does through machine learning analysis. Both have complementary strengths and weaknesses. And digital decisioning platforms allow both of these strengths to be used within decisioning logic. The strengths of humans, we understand decision logic actually in the absence of large amounts of data. And we can also adapt very quickly to changes, but we can't analyze large data sets. And we have lots of cognitive biases. Sometimes our experience actually adds biases to our decisions when changes have taken place. Computers, on the other hand, can analyze large amounts of data. They can find patterns that we absolutely cannot find. And those models can be retrained based upon new data. But they need the guidance of humans when there's a change in company strategy or a change in competitor. When there's no data, the computer can't see it. So it's only as good as the data in the repository. So digital decisioning platforms take the approach that the smartest decisions are driven by both humans and computers. It takes the strengths of each and allows them to be expressed within digital decisioning platforms. Now, look, decisions aren't new. As I expressed before, most enterprises actually have decision logic. It's just hard coded. It's hard coded in all of these applications that they have. There's still COBOL code making decisions for hotel reservations, for financial transactions. And when it's hard coded like that, it's very difficult to change. It's very expensive to change. So in many cases, a company may not change it, and they may not be making the best and most intelligent decision. So one use case for digital decisioning platform is to extract that decision logic and centralize it so that it can easily be changed. And it can benefit from the use of AI technologies such as machine learning and other types of advanced analytics for that matter. Here's a more formal definition. It's a subset of business logic, right? So it's not the business logic per se, but it's the subset which defines the decision. It's informed by analytics, which includes machine learning, and it can be embedded within applications, and it makes those routine, repeatable operational decisions that every company has to make. And digital decisions must be real time. So they have to be automated. You can see this chart here where we talk about the perishability of a decision. You see the time to decide, the frequency of decision on the x-axis, and yeah, the leaders of the company making strategic decisions. Where should I build a factory? What new market should I go into? Those are really about humans making decisions, but the automated decisions, which can use in many cases telemetry from IoT devices and machine learning models, those come more into the real-time decision making. And many enterprises have to make more decisions in real time, which is another reason why digital decisioning platforms are gaining in prominence. Now, AI is an important aspect of making the best decision for all the reasons I stated, the ability to analyze that data. And AI is in the future of every enterprise. We see organizations that implement AI, they're getting positive results. Digital decisioning is a great way to implement AI within your decisions. And we've seen a massive uptake. You can see between 2019 and 2020 alone, a big increase in the number of enterprises that say they're doing some form of AI, and they're just getting started. We predict that by 2025, 100% of enterprises will be reporting that they're doing some sort of AI, where they build an application or buy an application. And they're also going to be automating. They're going to be using it to automate. And a decision platform is the software that does everything I just talked about. It allows you to express expert human logic and use AI models and combine those to automate decisions. The philosophy of all decision automation and digital decisioning automation platforms, this is the philosophy. Combine the expertise of humans, analytics, data, and AI, and that will equal the best possible decisions. So digital decisioning platforms fit here. If you're looking to provide BI, more traditional business intelligence, those are different platforms. That's what humans use to kind of explore data for new ideas to make the decisions. Digital decisioning platforms are really a form of application platform focused on decisioning. If you're actually looking in the market for digital decisioning platforms, and that's what I do, I research the market for all digital decisioning platforms and evaluate those. And what I've done here is I've put together a list of 10 must-haves that I think you should look at when evaluating a platform for your use cases. It has to have tools. I mean, this is obvious, because if you're trying to express decision logic, you need tools to be able to do that. Now, what's fascinating about the tools in the digital decisioning platform space is that they are developed for business experts, because it's the business experts that actually have that expert decision logic, but they're not necessarily Python or Java programmers. So these tools are some people like to call it low code, but they're actually no code tools to express that decision logic versus software experts. Now, there are tools for developers in these platforms as well, because they have to be able to integrate those decisions. But a very distinct characteristic of digital decisioning platforms are this decision logic authoring tools. So look for those tools and measure them against your expert's ability to express that logic. And I think you'll find some very interesting tools out there in the low code / no code genre. The second thing is AI. Now there's varying degrees of AI, and AI can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Essentially, it's about analyzing data to create machine learning model, one or more machine learning models. So look for a tool that can integrate with other machine learning platforms. And that integration isn't a heavy integration. It's really about importing a model. So if you're using, if you have a data science team creating a machine learning model in a notebook, a Jupe open source notebook system, that model should be importable into a digital decisioning platform. Some digital decisioning platforms will let you access machine learning models that are available by the cloud companies, Google and Amazon, computer vision models, for example. And some will provide tools that will allow a data savvy user to actually create models using AutoML. The more models you can bring into that decision, the more sophisticated and nuanced you can make the human decisioning logic by using AI models. You want the system to be transparent. This is consequential decision logic. This isn't trivial stuff, right? It's not trivial if a transaction comes in and you're trying to make a decision in real time, whether it's fraudulent or not, right? It's not trivial when you're trying to upsell a customer. So you have to have full transparency so that the business experts and operational people understand that decision logic. So look for explainability features so that you can understand these decision outcomes and course correct when the market changes, when the environment changes, when something changes. So explainability features is key as well. And those explainability features have to span, because explainability is a term that's often used in machine learning, but it has to be explainable, the entire decision, the human decision logic as well. Now, those tools I mentioned, those authoring tools for business experts go a long way in terms of explainability of the entire decision as well. The fourth thing to look for is low code. We talked about the tools for authoring the decision logic, but if you're creating a decisioning application, you want developers to be able to quickly create either specific decisioning applications, create a process where those decisions can be used, and low code is the fastest way to do this because it gives the developer the flexibility of coding, but it gives them the power of abstraction to create flows in a low-code environment. So look for that in the tools as well. You have to be able to infuse these decisions and therefore the AI in the application, or you're not going to get the business value out of it. Decision models in the decision logic certainly have data as input. So you look for a platform that can connect to the data sources needed by your decisioning. Now, look, most platforms are going to have a generic way to do that. Here's a JDBC driver, and maybe you don't even have to know what JDBC is. There's just a source to a database. But you may have some specialized sources like JSON sources and other sorts of formats, or even business application formats like Salesforce, like you're trying to pull a contact out of Salesforce. So when you're looking at a digital decisioning platform, think about the sources that you might need to use in making that decision, make sure it can do that. Sixth thing is to look at the life cycle. Decisions aren't set it and forget it. Decisions evolve, or they should. They're hard to evolve when they're hard-coded in business logic. But part of the power of a digital decisioning platform is your ability to quickly respond to changes in the market, changes to your strategy, changes to the policy, changes to the data, changes to customers or operations. So you want lifecycle management tools that allow a number of people to collaborate. Maybe you've got an industrial engineer who's doing some decision logic having to do with the manufacturing process, and you have a supply chain expert who's doing some sort of decision about the supply chain, and you have sales doing some other type of decision about what to promise to customers. And maybe all of these have to work together. So you want to look for digital decisioning platforms that just don't narrowly focus on the ability to define the decision, that number one I told you about, tools, but also that can accommodate this entire life cycle from the design of the decision to the deployment, and then the feedback loop to change that. So look for management of the life cycle in that tool. Seventh thing is ModelOps. ModelOps stands for model operations. It's sometimes known in machine learning circles as machine learning operations. At Forrester, we call it ModelOps because it's broader than just machine learning. It's any model that goes into making a decision. And ModelOps is really focused on governing the deployment and monitoring those decisions in production. Because remember, the best decisions, or many of the decisions, are going to use an AI model. And you have to monitor the efficacy of that AI model. You just don't want to put it out there without making sure that it's not doing any harm as the model decays, where it needs to be retrained, for example. That's the biggest use case. So make sure it has it expresses a ModelOps feature for the deployment cycle. So if the platform simply says, oh yes, you can export this model, well, that basically means then it's leaving it to someone else to kind of manage that in production and monitor in that production. You want a digital decisioning platform that can take it all the way within that application and monitor it. Digital decisioning platform, it centralizes the decision logic, but it decentralizes the use of that decision logic in many different applications. And thus, with an enterprise with thousands of types of decisions, even if you start with a half dozen, it needs to have integration tools. It needs to be able to run those decisions. You're going to manage them centrally. You're going to author them centrally, but you need to be able to run them mobile, edge, public or private cloud. So certainly look for a system that gives you those capabilities. You may be all in the cloud now, but there may come a time when you actually need it on-prem or at a manufacturing facility. You may be on-prem now, but there may be a time when you need it in the cloud. So look for a digital decisioning platform that maximizes that flexibility. Security is critical for most decisions. The security of the data, the security of the decision logic itself. So make sure it has robust security to protect sensitive data, the data that goes into those decisions, but also the decision itself, right? Because certainly a very typical use case for financial services is either commercial lending or consumer lending is application data. Some of it is sensitive data, it's regulated data. You have to be able to make sure that the digital decisioning platform will keep that information safe. And then the decision is going to make a decision about that data. Likewise, you have to keep the details of that particular instance of a decision safe as well. So make sure it has the ability to protect sensitive data. And then finally, these are mission critical applications because these are, again, consequential decisions. These are decisions that make or break the everyday operations of a company. So the decisioning platform has to be fault tolerant for the runtime. If decisioning goes down, if any aspect, then the business goes down. So it has to be resilient to failures wherever deployed. Now, when I look at platform characteristics, I look for their architectural design principles for fault tolerance. Is it active-active? Is it active-passive? In what ways is this fault tolerant? So that if something does happen, there's a failover. I also look at concurrency. To what extent is it designed to scale? Imagine if you're making decisions about customers in an e-commerce site, like customer recommendations, right? Because that's a decision. Customers browsing around, they're putting something in their shopping cart, and now you need to make a decision using AI and other logic of what to recommend next. That's a decision. Imagine at Black Friday. Imagine how usage spikes. Well, that means decisions are going to spike. So you have to look at the properties of the platform from a scale standpoint as well. One last one, I'm calling this a bonus, is looking at all of those deployment options. I talked before about cloud and on-prem, but you want to make sure whether it is cloud or on-prem, how is it designed for elasticity? Because even on-prem deployments now are increasingly using Kubernetes. It's really a private cloud that many enterprises. So look at how if that platform is using some sort of modern containerized orchestration architecture as well. And ultimately, there are going to be decisions in the cloud. So make sure that it supports all the major cloud vendors that you ultimately may go with. So digital decisioning platforms, again, the best way to combine human decision logic and AI. Look for these 10 capabilities. I call them must-haves because this is what we look at Forrester when we're evaluating these platforms and advising clients. Decisions really are the fundamental element of any enterprise's KPI, and they should be informed by AI, but they should be governed by human decision logic as well. We have the intuition, we have the experience, the computers have the ability to analyze that data. Decisioning platforms allow you to combine the best of both of those worlds and to implement digital decisioning automation. So with that, I thank you, and I hope you now understand the urgency of adopting digital decisioning platforms and have the information you need to make an informed decision about that.